Okay, let's go on. European Cooperation for Accreditation is the body responsible for the European accreditation infrastructure. Andreas Steinhorst is the Executive Secretary of EA. He has held that position since 2014. Dr. Steinhorst has more than 20 years of experience from accreditation, not least, at least as the Managing Director for the German accreditation body DAX. Dr. Steinhorst will talk about the future for accreditation today, which factor affects the accreditation infrastructure the most, how will the regulators use accreditation in the future. Over to Frankfurt.
Yes, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to Sweden and good afternoon to everywhere where you are joining this excellent webinar. Yeah, I'm the last speaker.
Yeah, we hear you, Andreas.
Yeah, I have some feedbacks, so that's difficult. I guess I have to look. So can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you loud and clear,
okay,
Andreas.
Fine. No, I have had some echoes because I have also the streamline, the live stream. So so that now it works better. So I'm the last speaker, and it's always a challenge, I guess. You have already heard a lot of accreditation, market demands, and also something about the future. And I hope that I can provide you some more news, especially in regard to the future. But first, give me also the chance, even if my colleague Stefan from DAX has already explained a lot about EA, give me the opportunity to say some words to EA and our activities before I come to my key issue about future of accreditation. So first, EA is the European Association of National Accreditation Bodies, and the EA members are officially recognized by their national government to assess and verify conformity assessment bodies. The EU national accreditation bodies shall be a member of EA by law. So that is I guess important to mention. The recognized national accreditation bodies are listed in the NANDO database. My colleague Stefan has also mentioned that according Regulation 765, EA is recognized as the European accreditation infrastructure, and based on Regulation 765, we have signed in 2018 the third framework partnership agreement with the European Commission, but a similar one with EFTA. There are also the guidelines for cooperation with the EU, EFTA, and the national authorities, which are published in the official journal of the EU. And these guidelines set out, on one hand, the common understanding about accreditation, but on the other hand, also the expectations from the parties involved. That means from the European Commission, from EFTA, national authorities, and EA. Yeah, at the moment, we have in total 36 full members that are national accreditation bodies coming from EU and EFTA countries, as well as identified countries to the EU. 34 of the full members are successfully peer evaluated for specific scopes. And Stefan has already explained the value of peer evaluation and the MLA signatory status. Furthermore, we have 14 associate members from potential candidate countries to the EU, as well as from countries which are covered in the EU neighborhood policy. Not all of them are yet peer evaluated by EA. Some of them are peer evaluated by other regions, but some of them are in the framework, in the peer evaluation framework of EA. What is also important to mention, if we're talking about market demands and cooperation and to be transparent, but also to listen, that is that we are cooperating with the most important organizations relevant for the European quality infrastructure. At the moment, we have around 40 so-called recognized stakeholders that are stakeholders where we have signed cooperation agreements with. Stefan also mentioned that one task, and that is one of the key tasks of EA, is the peer evaluation of the national accreditation bodies. But there are some other important activities of EA. Another one is the harmonization of accreditation throughout Europe, but also the cooperation with and support of the European Commission and EFTA. And the latter issue is extremely important when we are talking about the future role and value of accreditation. That was some information about at least the present, and now I will try to give you a look in the future, not in a crystal ball, but a look in the future, at least regarding accreditation and conformity assessment. And the demands of the market in future, that was already addressed by Marcus. Hence, I will concentrate my presentation on the acceptance of accreditation by regulators. And then I will provide some thoughts about new technologies and its impact on conformity assessment and accreditation, even if that was already tackled by Marcus' presentation as well. If we are looking to the future of accreditation, then we have to look first on the acceptance of accreditation today. We all know the role of accreditation in regard to the EU product legislations, the so-called harmonized sector, where we have notified bodies and the CE marking. And we know that accreditation is a preferred means to demonstrate the competence of notified bodies. But accreditation is used by the regulators in many other sectors, like food and feed and agriculture or environment. Around 7 years ago, the European regulator established the EU emission trading system, which includes the accreditation of verifiers. That was an important step for not only for the accreditation bodies, but of course for verifiers for all European citizens. But it was important because that was also linked to the introduction of a new standard. At that time, it was ISO IEC 14065. But we know accreditation in some other regulated sectors too. And one of those sectors were mentioned this afternoon already by Matt Gantley from UCAS, and that is, for example, the forensic services. Now we have some new regulations in sectors which will be of specific importance, at least in terms of accreditation in the future. The first example is the regulation on drones. This is not really a new type of accreditation because it is mainly about safety and the accreditation of notified bodies according specific conformity assessment procedures. We know because many of them are already applied in regard to other notified bodies. But there are new regulations in partly new sectors and with different provisions on accreditation, like the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation, and the Cybersecurity Act. The GDPR is special, I have to say. The GDPR, Article 43 on accreditation of certification bodies, is deemed as lex specialis vis-à-vis Regulation 765, where accreditation is defined as an activity performed by national accreditation bodies only. And the GDPR, first time since 765, has established a parallel way of demonstrating the competence of conformity assessment bodies. Now we are happy that most of the member states are using the option of accreditation by the national accreditation bodies. Regarding the Cybersecurity Act, there will be soon the first scheme called EU Cybersecurity Certification, and this scheme will be published presumably next year as an implementing act. What concerns me here is that for ICT products, processes, and services, that is the scope of the Cybersecurity Act, with assurance level high, additional technical assessments by the authorities shall take place. And in some cases, and that is also new, peer review between accredited, authorized conformity assessment bodies. In February this year, the Commission published its white paper on artificial intelligence. It includes reference to conformity assessment if it comes to demonstrate compliance of AI products or AI applications with legal requirements. And we are in contact with the European Commission in this regard and to support the European Commission in addressing conformity assessment and accreditation according 765. That will be an important and challenging issue, of course, for citizens, for consumers, regulators, and of course, also for EA. For EA, because it will not cover product safety requirements only, but also issues regarding fundamental rights. And both aspects shall presumably, and I hope so, covered by conformity assessment and accreditation. But it will be a challenge also for the conformity assessment bodies, especially by small conformity assessment bodies, to deal with both aspects, not only with product safety. There are many conformity assessment bodies and notified bodies. There's a lot of experience, but also with those fundamental rights issues. But to summarize, we have currently more than 100 EU legislations which takes recourse to conformity assessment and accreditation. We have published this year a directory. It's a document EA Info 5, where you can find all of these legislations in different sectors, and in many cases with some additional, I hope, useful information. So if we are looking to more than 100 EU legislations and the future new sectors and applications, then we have to look and to address, of course, at least 3 items, and that is acceptance. That is what we are talking about. Acceptance by the regulator. Also the obligation, and then of course the challenges. First, acceptance. Yes, the European regulator trusts the European accreditation infrastructure in general. That is what we have realized and what is demonstrated. In particular, of course, with if we can refer to more than 100 EU legislations with reference to conformity assessment and accreditation. So therefore, I think the European regulator will take recourse to accreditation in future increasingly. That is at least what I expect. And of course, if we, EA and its members, continue to doing a good job. But there are new parallel systems considered for existing and new sectors, and that is what we have to look at and to react on as soon as possible.
So Andreas, if you could try to summarize a bit quick now, because we are preparing for the final debate. So 1 minute more.
Yes, sorry. And there's of course some obligations. The obligation is that we have to provide a competent, reliable, and harmonized service for all the regulated sectors. That is for granted. But then the challenges. Yes, we have to establish the competence for every new sectors, and that is especially a challenge for small national accreditation bodies. But that is our task as EA to support our members in this respect, but also to ensure that the European regulator relies on accreditation for new sectors, including for sensitive and high-risk sectors, high-risk applications, and that, of course, that accreditation is applied according Regulation 765. So now my last few slides, and I need only two minutes more, that's about new technologies. And here you have some examples on this slide. Yeah, some new thoughts about new technologies due to and that is what Markus already addressed, due to COVID-19 pandemic, all of us were suddenly confronted with new situation. Audits and assessments couldn't take place as usual, but our members had to manage the situation in order and to ensure that regulators, consumers, and markets have still trust on accreditation. And therefore, they have really very fast introduced remote assessment, remote witnessing, remote file reviews, and other means to ensure that the assessment of CAPs can go on in a robust and a reliable manner. But we have also some new technologies and some examples: blockchain, smart sensors, smart glasses. And if you look to some of them, some may argue that, for instance, with blockchain, is there still conformity assessment needed in future? And with that accreditation, I would say yes. Somebody has to control and the architecture of blockchain. But we have to be prepared for those new technologies. And there are some questions how to assess those technologies. With which procedures and techniques do we need as accreditors to look at those conformity assessment bodies using those new technologies? We have to be prepared, and I mentioned that EA will support its members, but also the regulator when it comes to conformity assessment and accreditation in light of digitalization. And the first step will be another conference, but this time performed by EA. It's our conference on cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and digitalization on the 26th of November. And I hope I can see you there again. Thank you very much.